888-550-KTRS. And it's okay. Some folks are a little shy about hearing their names.
Or their voices on the radio.
And that's really okay. Let's talk about Linda, who recently wrote us.
Okay.
And one of the areas that we're very much involved with for many folks, because of the type of companies here in the city, are pension plans. The question becomes, in many cases, if I do have an opportunity, should I take that lump sum distribution in lieu of taking either a life only or a joint and survivor annuity? We're not going to get into specifics about which one should you take if you happen to be eligible for joint and survivor annuity.
Maybe in the future we could do
Yeah, we can certainly do that, and we can talk about some ideas about pension. We call it pension
maximization,
which is always a lot of fun things to do. And we're seeing a lot of these questions come up because, number one, we know that many companies are trying to get rid of their pension plans, get rid of that obligation they have on their books, freezing those plans.
Right, so this isn't necessarily an option available to everyone that has access to a pension. You generally have to be...
some companies also that they'll offer it on one of their pensions but not on the other.
Especially for companies that have been purchased more than one time, may have more than one pension pot, so they may offer on one pension the payout on the lump sum, and on another you have to take it as a pension.
Yeah, and Linda wrote us and she said, Jeff, this is my situation. I'd appreciate if you and Aaron, especially Aaron, would give us some input on this. So we said, okay, great. So Linda has, she's 62, she's married.
Great.
And she has an option of either a $1,400 per month joint and survivor pension benefit. Now, again, she had other pension options available, but we're really going to key in on this benefit because, as we know, her husband would have to sign off for her giving up his part of the pension benefit, and I doubt if he would do that.
Exactly. And
that wouldn't be prudent.
Exactly. And any amount he would have to sign off on that.
That's correct. And the lump sum equivalency of that was approximately $300,000. So, our first level of analysis on this is that the payout rate for them was approximately 5.6%.
And the way that we calculated the payout is we took the $1,400 per month over 12 months and then divided that by the lump sum.
Yeah, so that gives us the percentage. Now, again, with a payout rate, especially with these joint and survivor pension benefits, and they're truly joint and survivor annuities.
Right.
We'll say the word annuities because they really are that way. What happens is that the payment that we've discussed would continue for the life of Linda, and then also for her spouse's life, and at that point it would then end.
Exactly.
And therefore any capital in theory that would have been associated with that pension plan would stay inside the pension plan and wouldn't be distributed to her heirs, assuming that she and her husband had it.
Right, because Linda essentially agreed to give the pension policy, the pension plan, the principal, in exchange for that income stream for both her and her husband.
Right, and so, obviously there's some things to weigh here. Number one is, how important is that secure stream of income to Linda? Number two, and we've seen this in some cases, is that really what she wants? Does she really want that level of income? Maybe her game plan says that she needs less income, if not any income, to make her game plan work. And, obviously being a reliable stream of income, depending on the pension plan to do so in most cases, especially if her plan is fully funded, or even close in that pension benefit situation, then that would be a good thing to do.
Exactly. And then the other thing is to look at the payout rate.
Really important, right?
Exactly. So we want to take a look at, we talked about how we calculated the payout rate, the monthly income over 12 months divided by the lump sum offer, and generally what we would consider to be a good payout rate would be 7%.
Or greater.
Or more. Yeah, more is always better, right?
More is always better, et cetera. And you would think that because interest rates are rising,
payout rates would be rising.
That's right, but in many cases they're not. So you have to be very concerned about the payout rate. In this particular case, it was very low.
And so the reason that we determined that 7% is a good payout rate is because if you were to look at privately creating an income stream for yourself, a joint and survivor income stream, if you went to a private insurance company with a sum of capital, what would they offer you as a payout rate? And because they're offering about 7%, we want the pension plans that you were working for previously to match that, at least.
Yeah, because if you can't do better or equal outside, then the thing is, why take it?
Exactly.
At the same time, what's also important is how does this income stream fit into her game plan and her husband's, and then more importantly, I think, is the money.
The money.
At the end of the day, you're, as you said very well, Erin, is that you're exchanging the income stream for the capital. Maybe that's something that isn't a desirable result, especially if you're looking to pass some things on to your heirs.
Absolutely.
And we do have folks in many cases where, they have a home, may not be super valuable, but this pension asset is maybe one of their greatest assets, and frankly, they'd like to be able to pass on some of this to their heirs if they can, especially in situations where people are divorced. Yes. Right? We see that a lot, especially in single-family, whatever situations it is, because it stops, just like Social Security.
Sure. And so in a divorce situation where there sometimes have been decisions made about pensions for the individuals, they would have to consult with their spouses before making an election like this, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Or in many cases, what happens is that some attorneys, for whatever reason, don't really include the pensions in the calculation.
Interesting. Well, I know I've heard of it's called a quadro, where that's a requirement that the spouse that wasn't employed by the pension plan still receives a piece of that pension for their income.
Yeah, if that's something that's negotiated and the pension sponsor, as you said, does have to follow that order. But let's just assume for fun here, as it usually happens, is that we haven't seen too many quadros. Most of the time what's happened is that person has said, I'm going to keep my pension and you keep like your 401k or whatever.
Right, they offset the assets somehow or they equalize out.
Well, in that particular case, we know that that person being divorced, they would want to take the single life option.
Absolutely, because
that would maximize their payout because they're not having to create they're not willing to take a smaller benefit to create support for somebody else in terms of an income stream.
Sure.
But by taking that life-only benefit, we also know that the capital's gone. Even if there's a refund option in there, which some plans do have, i.e. that, whatever amount you're taking, it has to equal at least what the lump sum was when you started, so that they're basically at least getting that amount out.
Sure. But that's pretty rare at this point now.
Yes.
Rebates on that, or refunds rather. So it looks like Linda and her husband have a few options to consider.
Yes, they do. They do have some things to do. And again, we're not going to get into product specifics, but we will talk about some things in general. The first one I always like the one is wait and see.
So that would be electing to take the lump sum that was offered and wait.
Right. Invest it conservatively. And if you do get to a situation where you decide you do want to lock in a specific income stream, what you could then do is go and then, if you want, take that piece of capital and convert it into an immediate annuity, which would then give you that income stream as long as you're alive. And frankly, if you wanted to, you could do joint survivor if you wanted.
Sure.
Or not. And the cool thing is that as interest rates are rising...
It's not right. It's not a percentage. It's not a dollar for dollar. It's actually much better than that, which is as interest rates rise, a 1% increase in interest rates actually increased the payout by 25%.
So it can be pretty large. So a wait and see attitude might make sense, especially if you don't need the money immediately today.
And even more so in this particular environment because we know, rates aren't rising rapidly, but we know that the Fed has said that they are on schedule to make at least 3 interest rate hikes this year. So we know we're in it also because we are in such a low interest rate environment, the only place for them to go is up eventually.
Right. So it could be a timing issue. And again, I would say that for me, at least, it makes sense, and we've seen this countless occasions, which is someone had a pension benefit, but it was really more than they needed. They only needed a smaller amount, and so why not actually custom make the pension benefit that you need, then having the rest of it be able to go on to and be invested for them, which is kind of a cool thing. And also, obviously, not just invested, but liquid.
Yes.
Available for their purposes. The second one is that especially if they're looking for an area of safety where they could earn some interest, they might consider just what we call fixed annuity, a deferred annuity, right?
Exactly. So these are products offered by insurance companies where the assets are invested in the general assets of the insurance company. So basically what these policies offer is a guaranteed rate of interest for a specific period of time.
Right. And I believe that we've talked about a few of these because we've had some questions over the last couple of weeks. Rates have gone up. We're now in a situation where we're seeing the really quality companies that are offering up to 3.25% for up to 5 years.
Exactly, and as interest rates rise, they are incrementally increasing their rates, so that's something where a wait and see could help as well.
And the cool thing about this is that just like in a life insurance policy, annuity contracts do have built in what we call
withdrawal corridors?
Actually, the tables. You're right, honey. They do have a withdrawal corridor where you can pull a certain amount if you want, etc. But they also have what they call settlement options, where what happens is you can automatically convert into an annuity contract either through a life insurance policy or through an annuity, a deferred annuity that you have, where you would have that built-in income stream. You already have the table there, which actually also has the guaranteed rates. And
it lets you, it's more flexible than generally what the pension plans offer because they'll offer you single life annuities or joint and survivor at certain percentages, but the settlement options can offer additional options for things like a certain period of time you'd like the payout to go.
10-year certain or 20-year certain as an example.
Exactly.
And you're right, honey, they could go joint and survivor as well. But I think what's kind of cool is that, if someone wanted to, they could have that money growing at a fixed guaranteed rate of interest, better than CDs maybe, and then
when they're
on their
ready.
timetable, then do a conversion if that would be something, either all or a part of what they want, right, when they're ready.
Because we do have quite a few people, and we didn't mention the specifics of Linda and her husband, but Linda's husband's continuing to work, so they might not need the full income stream at Linda's retirement. They might need that eventually when Linda's husband retires, so they're able to control the cash flow when they are able to maintain the control of the asset.
And that's really what's important here, because we know that the real confidence that folks get in retirement is the fact that they feel like they have significant control over their cash flow.
Right.
That it will be there, like we like to talk about, it will be there at a predictable time in a specific amount that they need so they can do the things that they want to do.
Absolutely.
A second product they could consider would be what's called a variable annuity with a living benefit rider. We also have fixed index annuities that offer these similar riders. Again, this is where, in many cases, you're paying the insurance company an additional fee to create a rider where they'll create some guaranteed benefits in terms of withdrawal percentages and also increases while you're waiting. So, and these can also be set up as a lifetime withdrawals, not only for the annuitant, which is the person whose IRA account is, but also
for the spouse. Exactly. So there are many ways to recreate these similar benefits to what pension companies offer. We just do it on a private basis.
Exactly, and those are all the private side.
But the nice thing about all those, many of the private options is, especially with that third option with the living benefits available to them, you still not only maintain control of your capital, but if you don't deplete the asset, what it remains will be able to be passed on to your beneficiaries, which can be a very important part of this decision. Do you want, like you mentioned, do you want something to be left on, or is this the piece that you want to be passed on? Yes,
again, a withdrawal strategy versus what we would think of as an annuitization strategy. So that can be very important as well. So there are lots of options that are out there.
So how do people even start making?
Well, I think, again, you have to begin by looking at your game plan. Is the amount of income that you're going to be receiving for your pension, number one, does it seem to be a reasonable deal, the offer?
Is the payout the right amount?
Number two is, do I need the money immediately? Is this something we need to do? Do I need this money to make my cash flow game plan work? If the answer is no, then guess what? You maybe want to consider taking a lump sum, right? Why take that pension and then give the money back, right? And pay taxes and recycle the money back, right?
Or just say that you're not taking the pension in order to avoid the payout, but your money's not growing because your pension payout is going to stay stable, essentially.
Yes, and then the secondary question, and for some people it becomes more significant, is do I want the opportunity to pass on this capital lump sum that I have to the people I love when I'm gone? Again, very important decision. What you should be doing, though, is, I think at the end of the day, get some advice. Get a second opinion on how you're looking at things, etc., because you'll hopefully get some perspective.
Yes.
And put you in a position where you can then make some very good choices.
Especially because this entire process really starts with your cash flow plan.
Right.
Figuring out, and in order to do that...
Everything starts with your game plan for cash flow,
That's right. So discussing that with someone, getting some confirmation on your numbers, you got to start with the right information before you can continue on in the process.
Yes. Again, it's a matter of the more you know, the better control you have over the decisions that you make, and frankly, in many cases, you have the opportunity to have some control over some of the results.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cash flow is always king. So, again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 969-KTRS, *KT.